Hey YouTube, Repo Man 64. This is getting exciting. I remember when I said this is it. This is really gonna happen, and somebody got in the comment section, this isn't it, it's only on the south, this happens all the time. And I'm like, keep watching. It's going down. I'm excited on the one hand. On the other hand, I feel really bad for the people that are over there in Israel and all the innocent people in Gaza that have to go through this because Hamas is over there doing what they're doing. But excited because we've been watching for this. We've been led across a stream, step by step by step, not knowing where the other side was, taking each step by faith, little breadcrumbs that God has led us through ever since the Revelation 12 sign. I've watched people just dig in and try to figure this out, and I'm no different than anybody else. And today, Will at Worship and Watch had a video, and he spoke of those extra 7 days. I did as well in my last video, and I want to reiterate where we are right now and go into the timeline and take a look. I want to ask you, and I have this ongoing bet with Commander Kelly over at Cool Cat. Why is it that they do not, for the Feast of Trumpets, use the first sliver of the moon to indicate when it is? It's simple. The Feast of Tabernacles, the first day, must start on the Sabbath. The Bible is abundantly clear. And the eighth day, the day Jesus was circumcised and named, also had to land on the Sabbath. They could not start the head of the year at the first sliver. They couldn't do it, because if they had, then Tabernacles would not have fallen on a Sabbath. So that's why, and I posed that question a couple videos ago, why didn't they use the sliver of the moon to start the Hebrew New Year, or Rosh Hashanah? Why didn't they do that? They couldn't. They couldn't, because if they had, it would have fallen on Tabernacles. So I have this ongoing bet with Cool Cat that they do not use the sliver of the moon. However, the moon is very important. It is there as a warning. It is there for us to see what's going on in the future, and it's there as a time marker for things to come. So what are we seeing on October the 14th? Exactly 7 days after Shemini Atzeret, we see a solar eclipse. Kind of a big deal. We're all kind of looking at that right now. I'm no different. I think it's there. The timeline verifies exactly that it happens on October the 14th, and that is Tishri 30. Is that Tishri 30? I have to look in the timeline here. So, here we are. We started the year, the beginning of the year. Of course, it was changed by God in Exodus 12 to go back 182 days to March 17th. But the head of the year for Noah was Feast of Trumpets, Rosh Hashanah, moved back by God in Exodus 12. This is the day that Noah removes the covering. So that was Tishri 1, September the 15th. They could not use the first sliver of the moon to start this, because the law in Leviticus is abundantly clear that Tabernacles, which is the day Jesus was born, he was born on Tabernacles. 8 days later, the solemn assembly, the solemn feast day, was the day Jesus was circumcised and named. Both of these had to happen on a Sabbath. It does not and cannot line up with the first sliver of the moon. So, we're now here between October the 7th and October the 14th. We're on October the 11th, almost October the 12th, looking at the we're looking at the eclipse coming. Now, I just watched a video from Patrick over at Hourly Watch, and he shows the child, which I thought was very interesting, coming out completely out of Virgo on October the 13th. I think he said at 4 p.m. or something like that. It'll be close to midnight in Israel when that happens, and he's looking at that moment for the rapture. On October the 14th, remember, we have this date down here. I've checked with Sister Sandy, who put this timeline together. We don't know why that's there. A lot of times in previous timelines that I made, I marked the first day of each month. I would have marked Heshvan 1, October the 15th, but for some reason on here we have Tishri 30. If you look up, it doesn't apply to anything. There's nothing there. Nothing is found on the timeline. So I don't know why it's there, but it is there, and it's ironic that we have an eclipse on that day, so it's pretty cool. All right, so remember, on the 8th day, on October the 7th, Jesus was named and circumcised. It was a Sabbath. Now, God is lining up the Gregorian calendar this year, right here. Jesus was born on September the 29th, September the 30th, because it was at nightfall. It became September the 30th. For us here in our country, it would be September the 29th. On October the 7th, Jesus was named and circumcised. It had to fall, according to Leviticus, it has to fall on a Sabbath. This is why the Jewish people are announcing, and that's why they backtracked to trumpets, and it was not. That's why the moon was up by the sun in Virgo. It was not down at her feet. It couldn't, because we don't use the moon to start any month. We don't use the moon to start the year. We don't use the moon for anything, because the moon goes around 354 days a year. There's an actual warning in Enoch about using the moon. You can't, because 354 days for the moon, 28 days for each Sabbath. Now, there are exactly 52 Sabbaths every year. There are actually 364 days a year. There are not 365. They are taking 4 minutes a day away from time and then adding it on at the end. I don't know why they do that, but they do. So let me get back into this. So in heaven, Commander Kelly is going to owe me a bunch of sliver money. It's a little joke we have going on. He calls it the sliver shekel. The moon is not used. The first sliver of the moon is not used to start anything, in my opinion. On this timeline anyway, it doesn't. All right, so I want to point out I want to point this out real quick. Look what's going on. This is written in the Bible. It tells us. We just never knew when to apply it. Look, this is like the Revelation 12 sign, right? This is like everything, really. We can try to figure this out and try to see when it's coming, but God, and I said this a million times in 100 other videos, that God in the end is going to tell us. In the end, God is going to be the one to let us know. Amos 3:7 says, I will not do anything unless I tell you first. And I think he did when Israel was invaded by Gaza. And here we have a passage very clearly. Thus saith the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Gaza, and for 4 I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because they carried away captive the whole captivity. They kidnapped all these people and delivered them up to Edom. They took them. They took them out of Israel and took them down into Gaza. But I will send a fire on the wall of Gaza, which shall devour the places thereof. And that's what's happening right now. God has turned their hearts. Israel has put up with enough. Look, I don't know about you, but I can promise you, here in the United States, if a country decided to just lob bombs into our country randomly as they feel, and then the rest of the planet's like, calm down, everything will be fine, we wouldn't put up with that. Why do we expect Israel to put up with that? These people are free, they're independent, and they shouldn't have to worry as they walk down the street that they're going to lob a grenade or create a firefight out in their street. They should be a sovereign, sealed nation that they invite people into and people that they don't want in, they don't allow in. But we are always of the mindset that, well, Israel has to put up with that. Nobody else would. Nobody on the planet would put up with somebody just lobbing bombs into their country. And then their hearts have been passive for so long. And now they're fighting back. And the whole world's like, calm down. Calm down? Calm down? Do you know what they did? They came across the border and took a bunch of teenagers that were at a concert, murdered them, murdered the babies, carried a bunch of people over. They killed 14 Americans as far as I can see so far. I'm angry that it was allowed to get to this point that they have to go through this. Anyone should feel you shouldn't have to lock your doors. You should feel comfortable in your domicile, in your place, that you shouldn't have to worry about such things. And guess what happens here in the United States if somebody comes into your house? You can shoot them. They're breaking into your house to do you harm. You can shoot them. Nothing will happen to you. But for some reason, we hold Israel to a different level. And now God has hardened their hearts. And we say, well, Israel does not need to calm down. They need to clear this out so that this never happens to them again. We all know what's happening, but I can't believe there's anyone on the planet that would say Israel's not right. There's a bunch of talk, and I see this from like really high up people in the Watchman community that makes comments that, well, Israel has the most sophisticated system, and they allowed those people to come in. Look, this has been going on for generations. Who knew? Who knew that this exact thing was going to happen? And they say the intel, Israel's got this and that. I don't know. Honestly, does it matter? They came in and killed all those kids. Does it really matter? But it is a huge sign for us, and it's written right in the Bible. It's written right here. But I will send a fire on the wall of Gaza, which shall devour the palaces thereof, and I will cut off the inhabitants from Ashdod, and him that holdeth the scepter from Ashkelon. And I will turn mine hand against Ekron, and the remnant of the Philistines shall perish, saith the Lord God. God has hardened their hearts. They are going after these people, and they're not going to back down. And I can't, after getting slapped so many times and just allowing themselves to be slapped, they've had enough. They've had it. They upset the giant, and the giant's going to take them out. We find this again. Now we found that. We found that in Amos 1:6, and we find this in Zephaniah 2. For Gaza shall be forsaken, and Ashkelon a desolation. They shall drive out Ashdod at the noonday, and Ekron shall be rooted up. Woe unto the inhabitants of the sea coast, the nation of the... Why do you have such weird names? I shouldn't say weird. Big names that I can't pronounce. Cherethites, and the word of the Lord is against you. O Canaan, the land of the Philistines, I will even destroy thee, that there shall be no inhabitation. So it's super clear, abundantly clear, that this is going to come from Gaza, and Gaza will be annihilated. Every single date we've ever found is a prompting of the Holy Spirit. All of the watchers that I have watched have been very convicted on each date that they found. I'm no different. We have found all these dates, and I believe that each date, just like Elijah and Elisha, each town they went to, Elisha heard from the people there, and they were probably laughing. Didn't you hear? Your master's going to be taken away. And he heard that town after town after town, that his master would be taken away, and he said, yeah, whatever. He didn't believe it, but yet he was right there behind Elijah. Elijah did not know when he was going, because if he had, when he walked into that town and says, I'm leaving today, he would have gone out of the town and left. But he didn't. He went to yet another town and said the same thing. And they approached Elisha, and he said, yeah, hold your peace. I know what he's saying. I don't believe what he's saying. I know what he's saying, until finally what? It finally happened. When Elisha saw him go, He tore off his clothes. He tore off the world, and he put on that cloak. He put on the armor of God. He put on Jesus and gave up on everything he thought he knew. Yeah, I know. He knew now that he actually knew nothing. And now he has a double portion. So every date that every watcher has ever found has been a breadcrumb leading to the other side. Step by step, imagine this is a raging river. Imagine you can't see the next stone in front of you, and imagine it's foggy out and you have no idea how far the other side is. But you, with faith, stepped from date to date, and you were supposed to. The Holy Spirit led you to this. If we knew these events, hey, look, we did not know. We did not know when to look, even remotely close to when Jesus was coming back, until Israel became a nation. Once that happened, things started changing. People started watching, saying, "Wait a minute, this is biblical prophecy. We better start paying attention." And then when it was 70 years, we were like, "Oh, this is it. This has to be." And then the Revelation 12 sign was before that, and we're like, "All right, this is it. Get ready. 70 years is coming." Nothing. And what happened at the end? What finally happened at the very end? You could almost say, I won't say it. I will say it, but I don't. I would have never changed anything that I've done to date. I would have continued to watch and try to figure this out. But in the end, Amos 3:7 is fulfilled by God. He is telling us this is a new marker right here. This marker is the very end. God used Israel to become a nation as a marker. He used the Revelation 12 sign as a marker. He got us excited in watching and figuring out. I don't know about you, but in the last 3-4 years of studying this timeline, I have learned all of God's feasts, which I know that's what he wants. No, they're not Jewish feasts. They're God's feasts. And in heaven, we will look forward to each one of these like we do today for every thing that we do, 4th of July and St. Valentine's Day and Christmas Day and New Year's Day. It's going to be exactly the same thing, only each of these feasts of God we will look so forward to attending and remembering everything Jesus did for us. So you could almost say that we didn't have to look for any dates, because in the end, God was going to tell us. But if we weren't watching and trying to figure out every single date, we wouldn't be as excited as we are right now from the sign that God has provided for us in Israel. All right. Let's see here. All right. Nehemiah 8. This is Nehemiah 8. Also, day by day, from first day unto the last day, he read in the book of the law of God, and they kept the feast 7 days, and on the 8th day was a solemn assembly, according unto the manner. Now, solemn. I looked up the word. It just means kind of a normal day, melancholy, regular, not excited, just kind of observant, an observant day. So we see here that the feast was 7 days, and on the 8th day, this Jesus was born on the first day, and on the 8th day he was circumcised and named. Leviticus 23. And it tells us, this is the law. This is the law of God right here. And we are to apply our hearts to the law. Now, we don't follow the law, we follow Jesus. Jesus came to fulfill the law. He is the law. So when we're in Jesus, we are completed by Jesus of the law. We don't have to abide by the law, if that makes sense. As long as we're in Jesus, in the blood of Christ, that's all we need. You try to follow the law, you're ignoring who the law is. Jesus is the law, and that's where we go. We go to Jesus. The 15th day of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles, the 15th day of the 7th month, right? You could say, okay, well, let's just do it when the moon is full, because it was the first sliver back in trumpets, right? 15 days later, the moon's full. Let's do that. On the first day shall be holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. 7 days ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord, and in the 8th day shall be a holy convocation unto you, and ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. It is a solemn day, a reflection day, a day of thinking. It is a solemn day. It is a solemn assembly, and ye shall do no servile work therein. It is a Sabbath. The moon rarely falls full on tabernacles. I don't know how often it happens. I don't know how many years you have to go for it to actually happen that way, but it does not happen that way, especially this year. The first day must be a Sabbath. The 8th day must be a Sabbath. Solemn. Formal, dignified, a solemn procession. Not cheerful or smiling, but serious. Tim looked very solemn, characterized by deep sincerity. He swore a solemn oath to keep faith. Solemn means, like I said, it's dignified, it's ceremonious, it's not cheerful. It's very serious. Now, fast forward here to Solomon. The law has been given. We know that it's 7 days, and on the 8th day, we know that is done and over with. At that time, Solomon held a feast, and all Israel with him, a great congregation, from the gathering in of Hamath unto the river of Egypt, before the Lord our God, 7 days. Wait, and 7 days. Even 14 days. So you have 7 days. You have the 8th day, and then you have 7 days. There are 14 days where they will celebrate. The 8th day, something happens. On the 8th day, he sent the people away, and they blessed the king, and they went into their tents, joyful and glad of heart. Wait a minute. Joyful and glad? I thought they were supposed to be solemn and dignified. Why are they joyful and glad? This is a day of reflection. This isn't a joyful and glad day, but it is for some people. It is for us, the Christians. We're looking forward to Jesus' return. It is a sad day for everyone else. It is a solemn day for everyone else. The day Israel was attacked. They were attacked on the 8th day. 7 days after that, we have the eclipse that's taking place. Now, this is 1 Kings 8. Let's read 2 Corinthians, is it Chronicles? Sorry, Chronicles 7. Also, in that same time, Solomon kept the feast 7 days, and all Israel with him, a very great congregation, from the entering of Hamath unto the river of Egypt. And in the 8th day, he made a solemn assembly. We're back to solemn again. And they kept the dedication of the altar 7 days, and the feast 7 days. And on the 23rd day of the 7th month, he sent the people away into their tents. Wait a minute, they're glad and merry again. You have solemn and you have glad and merry. Some people are very happy about this, and some people are not very happy about this. You're kind of torn in between feeling bad for the people of Israel and the excitement that we feel that we saw this event take place, and it's written right in the Bible about Gaza. 23rd day. Let's take a look at that. When is the 23rd day? Right here. 23rd day, October 7th. I've heard reports that at 4 o'clock in the morning is when they were attacked. I've heard others say it was 6:30. I don't know exactly when. I just find it's strange that if they were attacked at 4 a.m. on October the 7th, it is exactly 7 days and 17 hours until the eclipse. I looked it up, but I'm not 100% sure that they were attacked at 4 a.m., so I didn't want to make the statement that it's true. I don't know, but I did hear somebody say that they were actually attacked at 4 in the morning and it heated up by 6 a.m., or Israel realized it was going on by 6 a.m., or something to that effect, or they responded by 6 a.m., but I think I heard the attack started at 4 a.m. And if you do the math from 4 a.m. until when the eclipse is, I think it's right in the top or something, right in the middle of it. I think that is, from my understanding, 7 days and 17 hours. There's that 717. We always see that 717 every time you can go into your phone now and type the word calendar, and the date 717 will always show up. All right. Yeah, that was it there. I just wanted to bring that again. Will over at Worship and Watch had a similar video. Nobody's seen those extra 7 days, and it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of bittersweet. We're kind of like, they got attacked. We're happy that it's biblically, it's right there in the Bible, and we can see it. We're not happy about what happened. You see it in those verses where it's supposed to be solemn, but they were glad and happy. And I'm just like, it's kind of, it's kind of both sides, right? It's kind of solemn, it's kind of happy and sad. So here we are. I want to say it's going to happen on the 14th so badly. I just want to say during the eclipse, it's going to happen. There was a movie, I guess, came out 7 years ago, and they called the eclipse on October the 14th. And they said the moment the eclipse was just ending, when the sunlight was coming back up, everybody just disappeared. I forget the name of that movie. The Leftovers? The Leftovers? That sounds terrible. It's not Left Behind. It's like The Leftovers or something. But anyway, it was interesting that that's the date that they chose in that movie to use, October 14th. Was there an eclipse at some point in history over the last 7 years where an October 14th eclipse happened before? I don't know. So anyway, yeah, super excited. Listen, if you ever heard me say, go to a quiet place by yourself, nobody needs to know and you don't need to tell anybody, and accept the Lord into your heart, now's the time to do that. This is happening. This is going to happen. And I can't even fathom it passing. I can't fathom it being when Noah goes into the ark on the, October the 24th. I can't fathom that. I think tribulation begins on October the 31st, honestly, when the ark door gets shut and tribulation began for Noah. Noah played all three parts. He played the bride when he went into the ark and sat there for 7 days. He played the saint because he was in the ark through the tribulation. And he also played the millennial saint because he came out 1 year and 10 days later on November the 11th, 11/11, and the ark door was open, and he went out into a completely different world. And that's what is going to happen to the millennial saints, is because they're going to walk out into a completely different world where Jesus runs it, and it's going to be, the government will be perfect. Nobody will be corrupt, and just think of what the world would have been had mankind not been so corrupted and greedy. Just think about how it's going to be in the millennium. It's going to be amazing. So anyway, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Go watch Will's video. Very good video. I don't think Cool Cat's on tonight. He's probably digging through his Bible trying to figure this out. Stop looking at the sliver. There's no sliver to start anything. If there was, it would always line up. It doesn't line up. It has to land on the Sabbath. So we will chat with you again. Maybe never. I hope we're in heaven here in the next couple of days. I didn't think I'd be making this video, honestly. I thought this 7th was it, but here we are. And we're always just going to keep watching. But I think the next leap, we're going to be on the shore. I think we're just done with each leap, honestly. God has taken over. God is the one showing us now. He's the one fulfilling Amos 3:7. He's no longer using, well, I'm not saying he's no longer using us. I'm here, right? We're still trying to figure it out. But that's a pretty big clue right there, October the 7th, when they invaded. That's pretty big. So could this thing escalate very quickly? Could Damascus be destroyed? Could this thing escalate to a point where we would have to be raptured because of all the calamity that's going on around the world? Yes, it could escalate super quick, very quickly. So, I mean, they did draw away a lot of our military and a lot of our hardware out of our country at this point. So I don't know. Who knows, right? We'll just keep watching. So I've heard a lot of theories going on as of late. Repo Man 64. We will chat with you again. I don't know. I don't know. Hopefully in heaven. Hopefully in heaven. We'll see you. We'll see you on the other side.